Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 25th RNCI Red Nation International Film Festival. This is the Indigenous Filmmakers Lounge, and we'll be spotlighting on the film Nowhere, Arkansas. And we have the associate producers with us and the star of the film. But before we get into introducing them and the film, I'd like to update you on what's happening. It's day 25 of our festival, and the festival runs till November 30th. So you have the whole week of this holiday to binge watch Native films. How exciting is that? Binge, watch. And yeah, and we have 105 films. We have 35 directed by women, 73 documentaries, 12 student films, 10 experimental. We've had an extremely successful festival during this pandemic. Who would think, right? But it's been really, really successful, and we're so happy that everybody's been able to see these extraordinary films from a Native perspective. And we've had 16 events. We have 2 more coming up. While you're binge watching the next few days, November 30th, we have our award ceremony. November 29th is our award ceremony. This Sunday, November 29th, is our award ceremony. And we're honoring Graham Greene with the Lifetime Achievement Award, and he'll be there along with all of our nominees and presenters and hosts and performers, and also all the filmmakers that have submitted to the festival. So you could get your ticket, rednationff.com, and we're having a VIP room where everybody will be chatting in there, and we'll be panning over to you guys as you say, oh, I wonder who's going to get this one and who's going to get that one, and who's going to get the prize here, the Red Nation Award. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. It's also going to be very encouraging for other filmmakers to continue to keep making movies. And and then November 30th, we end the month off with our signature event, our concert series. We launched 25 years ago during Indian Market, Red Nation Concert Series. It's artists in solidarity, creating systemic change through music. Music has the power to bring us all together. So it's our big party. So all the filmmakers, all these musicians, from Joel Walsh to Joanne Shenandoah. There's a whole roster of musicians coming together to support our 25th anniversary, a quarter of a century of being of service, of giving you out there, the audience, Native films and talent in front of and behind the camera. So visit rednationff.com and binge watch all weekend, because I'll be checking up on you guys to make sure. Okay, so now I'd like to introduce our spotlight film is Nowhere, Arkansas, and help me welcome associate producer Kim
Weezer.
Weezer. And you introduce everyone else, Kim.
This is my daughter Nia Waryakwi and my husband Rance Waryakwi. And we have a little company called Indian Image Productions. So we associate produced, and then Nia started the film.
Fantastic. So, excuse me, I'm going to get my mics on so I could hear you better. Yeah. So can you share with our audience, I could read, I could read the synopsis, but I'd rather have it come from the filmmakers. So can you tell me a little bit about, share with us about Nowhere, Arkansas?
Yeah, in fact, when we got involved with this, I saw a casting call on Natives and Indigenous films on Facebook, and shot Bobby a note and said, hey, I'm way too old for this, but I've got an 18-year-old daughter who'd be great at it. And then when he sent us the script, as someone who's a writer, I love words, right? And the script, it was so few words in it that I didn't quite know what to do. And Nia turned it down. And then Bobby's like, no, please. And so when we started working on the film, I was quite surprised. And really, I began to understand the story when I was on set, because Bobby is such a visual filmmaker. And with someone like Joel behind the camera, I see why. So basically, there's a Confederate deserter who's in the woods in Arkansas, just living out there. And he was a soldier on the Trail of Tears. And he's beginning to lose his mind. And in the meantime, he's looking for this escaped eagle that is the mascot of a Union troop for this reward money. And he sees the eagle, takes a shot at the eagle. But when he goes to find the eagle's body, he finds instead Nia, who ends up being a Nanyihi, which is a Cherokee spirit that they're people, that they come around when there's times of great need. And they've shown up in battles, right? And the character actually evolved into that when Christine Armour, who's one of the Cherokee language instructors at the University of Oklahoma, where my husband and I both teach, did the translations. And so she's the one that actually sort of fleshed out what Nia's character was. And she's there for retribution. So the guy completely loses it. He buries her. He goes back to the grave. She's gone, and completely loses it. But at the end, it's clear that justice is served, and he's actually sort of accepted that this is the justice for what he's done.
Wow. So I'd like to ask your daughter, will you please introduce yourself?
I'm Nia Boryakwi.
And Nia, what nation are you?
I'm Comanche.
You're Comanche. And your dad right there is Comanche.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you share with our viewers out there, and especially viewers that are watching, listening now, but also will be viewing this on the replay. Is this your first time acting?
I did some extra work when I was younger. It was for The Sun on AMC. That was like my only acting experience. So this was more of a bigger role than what I was like used to.
Can you share your experience for, maybe some emerging actresses out there that might want to get into the business?
I would say just look for casting calls, like online. My stepmom usually found them for me. And yeah.
Okay. And what was your experience like working on the film? Do you have an aha moment?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was really fun. At first I wasn't like wanting to do it, but then I was like really glad that I had that experience. It was really fun. I think I learned a lot too. I learned a little bit more about acting.
Mm-hmm. And Dad over there. Hi. Hi.
Oh.
How did you and your wife get involved in this film?
Well, like she said, she noticed the casting call for
Right.
it, and realized that she was not going to be being involved in that level of acting.
Right.
So we nominated our daughter, but and then like when it came into looking into her character and what was all going to be involved with it, it became more of a situation of, well, let's try to have some more consultation about this to make it more accurate. A lot of times, so it becomes a big deal to try to merge the image of, what our idea of what natives are on the screen,
Right.
and trying to merge with what actual, histories and culture is. And so it's always a negotiation. But being a part of that, was when we came to it, was like, okay, well, we know some individuals that can help us along with this. We were involved with many different people from different cultures here in Oklahoma, the home of 39 tribes. So we're grouped together all here, and we got a mutual understanding of if we spoke to some of our folks that were Cherokee here at the university that do language. And so when they started working on the language with us, they started helping us kind of evolve what this story was going to encompass.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my question wasn't as clear. is like, how did you become associate producers on the film? Basically, that's how, like, that was the
I
question.
think because it became clear when we started working, Bobby wanted to do a really good job and do respectful representations. He's from Australia. So his experiences there, have taught him to try to work in consultation in really good ways with Aboriginal people there. And he realized he needed to do that here. And when we started working on the film at all, it became clear that he really needed to be in deeper consultation. And since, no one here is enrolled Cherokee, right? We wanted to make sure, since he had a character that was associated with Cherokee culture and a deep part of it, although he did not know quite how to shape who her character was and make it culturally accurate at that time. When
Right.
the translations happened, Christine Armour, who's a Cherokee Nation citizen, actually really brought what Nia's character was to life. And then when we did the voiceovers, because I wanted the language to be done really well as well. And while Nia knows some Comanche and some Choctaw, that, we knew that doing Cherokee language at that level, we needed someone else. So we called in Jolene Scott, who did the language, did the voiceovers for us as well, who's a UKB citizen. So, really we came into associate producing because Bobby realized he needed more help with this in order to do a good job and make sure that there were accurate and respectful representations of Native people. And then it ends up being this real girl power film. It turns into something fabulous,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, share about that. Share with us about that.
Nia, do you want to talk about how it felt to be your character?
I did feel very powerful. At the end of it, I had like a scene with a gun. It felt powerful.
Yeah.
It's a pretty scary makeup, right? And that was a hard choice. Trying to decide what would be appropriate and also what would read on screen, right? So, she's using some makeup that usually would be something more like what a warrior would wear, but she is acting as a warrior for all of those people who were murdered and who were damaged in multiple other ways, and the enduring trauma that's been left from the legacy of the Trail of Tears, right? So she becomes a warrior for her people, and it's really, it ends up being pretty cool. And seeing her act in that role and hold that gun and be scary, right? Something that this grown man who's done horrific things is actually terrified of. It was pretty cool. And then when you see her on screen, I'm Nia's stepmom, but I've raised her for 10 years. And to see your child's face take up the whole screen, right? It's just an amazing feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, that I could see you're very proud, both of you.
So in other words, answer to your question is we basically inserted ourselves into the
Right. Yes.
when the casting call came, and then it was like, hey, maybe we could help you out here.
Right.
So that's how
So did you film in Oklahoma?
No, it was in Louisiana. In fact, it was part of something that goes on in Louisiana every year that hardly one knows about, which is the Louisiana Film Prize Festival in Shreveport. And it's a $50,000 prize for a short, right? You got to film within I think a 2-hour vicinity of Shreveport. But because that land is less developed, right? We're able to get out there on the river. In fact, one of the other producers' car flooded with all the equipment in it trying to get to one of the spots. So people were carrying cameras and we were walking, miles down a dirt road to get to where we could shoot because we just couldn't get out there any other way. But because of the environment being more pristine, part of that was in a huge wildlife refuge, I think it is, or national park down that way. So filmed over in Louisiana, so about a 5-hour drive, I think.
Wow, it brings up a memory of mine with my first documentary that I did many, many years ago. I had 3 cameras going at once. I thought, I'm going to film outside, the elements, right? With kids and animals and 30 cameras. And we take it all on at once. And 2 of the cameras broke, and oh my God, it was supposed to be, a doc feature and ended up being 9 minutes. So it was really an experience, and I love filmmaking. I love the process, all the whole thing about, you know, putting a film together. Is this your first time being associate producers?
Actually, the film that we worked on first is just now going to premiere, and that was with tell the story about Anna Lee and how we got involved in that.
Well, I can't remember why I was down there, but I was at Comanche country down there in Lawton, Oklahoma, and went to the museum down there. We have our own tribal museum, and ran into this young lady that was there to meet an auntie of mine. And I mentioned by chance that I was actually working on the the TV series The Sun on AMC at the moment.
I love that series, by the way. Or I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. I really, it was. I thought it was really done well, and it was pretty good. It was an experience working on that, on such a production as that. And it really opened our eyes up to a lot of what actually could be done, what's missing out there, and so. But yeah, I mean, so I ran into her. I told her a little bit that I was working on the series The Sun, and she was a filmmaker. Her name's Anna Lee Walton, and she's a student up there at NYC, film student, NYU. She said that she was working on this particular film that involved Comanches, and so we got to rapping a little bit, and just got really involved with Anna Lee. I introduced her to my wife, and my wife became one of her actors on her.
Did some acting, some screenwriting. I write in a lot of other genres and published, but it was my first screenwriting experience. And we worked on that show, so associate produced that. It's called Thistle Creek, and I think she's hit up a couple of festivals thus far, and is going to do a premiere in Fort Worth coming up. So I was a theater major who ended up being a native literature professor instead, right? So when they got the chance to audition for The Sun, they'd never done anything like this. I'm like, no, we're driving to Austin. We're going to listen to the audio book all the way down there. You've got to audition. And they both ended up getting featured background on The Sun, right? And then I was able to act the next season. But since then, Rance is a production assistant at the First American Museum that's going to be opening up this next year. Is it September?
Yeah, First American Museum here in Oklahoma. It's opening up September 2021. I'm a part of the media production team on there. So we've put together some little mini documentaries. Did some interactive games, if you will. Interact with them, and so it'll be something to see. It'll be hopefully it'll be Smithsonian world-renowned type of material.
Well, I would love to connect with you after this, because we have something we offer our filmmakers is an opportunity to, once they go through the festival circuit, and if they get picked up for distribution or not, either way, doesn't matter. We offer to have their film screen on our television network, which is Red Nation Television Network. And we were online streaming before Hulu or OWN or Netflix or anyone. The only one at that time was really streaming a little bit was YouTube. But it's all native content, and we've been doing it for many, many years. And we have a huge audience and subscription-based streaming network. So we encourage our filmmakers to submit their films to have it stream on our network. But we also encourage museums like yours and others, and also tribal nations, to have their commercials run. We only run native programs, right? Native content, and only native commercials, like, no, bleach or Tide or it's all, homegrown, all our own.
Awesome. Yeah, they would definitely be interested in it. I'm sure.
Yeah. And, they can be involved in this award ceremony for next year. Something to think about.
Yeah.
That's
great. Those are great ideas indeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So getting back to the film, Nowhere, Arkansas. I wish Robert was here because I would love to ask him questions, but hopefully, let me circle it around to you. How long did it take to make the film?
We were on set 3 days, and they were on 2 more days. So in terms of being on set in Louisiana, it was like 5 days. It was a really fast process.
Wow.
I was nervous at first because there weren't call sheets. I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Right.
Right.
But they knew what they were doing. And watching Joel frame a shot, it's a really cool experience. And so it was
Joel, what's his last name?
Joel Fromm was a cinematographer from Australia, and just absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was a really quick, intense process, and long days on set, very, very long days on set.
Right. Right. And how did you feel about that holding up?
I remember taking naps in between, like when they were filming and I was done with the scene, then I'd have to go back. But in that little bit of time, I like took a nap.
It was in full makeup and costume.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been there, done that. Yeah. So let's see. What was, as associate producers, what was your most challenging? This goes to both of you. What was your most challenging experience with this film to overcome?
I would have to say that last day where we went to the river. I mean, it was insane. I mean, sometimes the more things that go wrong when you're trying to get to where you can get the shot, the better the shot turns out at the end. And it was that kind of day, between cars taking on water, some starving horses that I reported to SPCA. I mean, it was insane. And having to get Nia down to a sandbar, down a road that could not be traversed with a vehicle, and have her costume be okay and everything else. That was trying. We were tired. It's the last day.
Right.
I will say, I'm going to embarrass her. She went to a concert in Dallas and came back. Crazy. Only someone who was like this young could manage to do this, right? But we were just exhausted. So that day, and things taking on water and just trying to shoot under those conditions, it was worth it to get the shots. It was, but it was intense.
It was raining most of the time we were done.
And it was raining. I forgot, a whole day of like rain, that we shot in the rain. And then scenes out in the middle of the woods, the scene where he finds her body, it's amazing. We put down trash bags. We put her on top of the trash bags. We put up leaves around her and then used duck feathers, right, to look like she'd been shot. Crazy things to get the shots that we got, but it turned out just really, really, really well.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would have done differently if I could have won this argument, but it is about what reads on screen. I really wanted to put her in period attire that would have been a swan cape, and a hip skirt, which would have been more Cherokee period attire that we would think of that this spirit might have worn if she is manifesting as a Cherokee person. And to me, that made sense since she's an eagle, right? But I could see Bobby's point that wasn't going to read to an audience beyond a Native audience that knew what Cherokee clothing of that time period would have looked like. So I think that's the other struggles that Bobby and I went back and forth over that. But I finally, it's hard. You have to make concessions to make the story work. You want to do it right. You want to be respectful and you want to be accurate, but you also have to have a film that reads to an audience.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, absolutely. Well, I could share with you one thing. When I was doing Powwow Highway, we had a late night shoot when Filbert's the pony goes down and crashes. It was snowing, and it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and no one had. They only had white shoes for me, tennis shoes, and it would read on the camera, so I had to go barefooted, and it was freezing. But I was a trooper and did it, got frostbite, but that's another story. So, but it's those moments, those challenging moments. And are you going to be a trooper, or, you know, to get the shot, or, you know, the compromises that we have to take or must take to get that great shot, right? Yeah. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. And everyone out there, that's listening and that will watch this in replay, visit rednationff.com and watch Nowhere, Arkansas, and binge 105 films from incredible filmmakers, all native content. This is your festival. You have a seat at the table. Own it. I want to thank you all. Say hello to Robert for us.
We will.
And we'll
Thanks.
see you at the award ceremony.
Sounds good.
Okay, and I'll call you about the museum.
Sounds great.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Thank you.